So welcome back. I'm in the Reflex Eco Cars workshop and I've got a Nissan Leaf. Oh no, not another video about the Nissan Leaf. This is rather special. This Leaf is 10 years old and I sold this to a couple who are really good friends, Andrew and Karen, who live 10 minutes from where I live here on Orkney. I sold it to them 7 years ago. Now Karen, the wife of Andrew, absolutely dotes on this Leaf. She will not drive anything else. And Andrew tells me I've turned her into some sort of monster. Stay tuned to the end of the video when I interview Andrew to find out why I've turned his wife into a monster with this Nissan Leaf.
You have made Porterfield's monster.
So the reason for this video is there's a lot of car reviews, new car reviews, how far they can go, the latest technology, and there's also that underlying feeling with most members of the public that come 3-4 years old, an EV is worthless. I remember Top Gear reviewing the Nissan Leaf, and James May at the end of that segment did actually say, well, EVs are all very well and good, but after 3 years you're going to have to put a new battery in it. This is 10 years old. The batteries have probably been built 10 years and 6 months. It's still running absolutely fine. And Karen, the driver, will not drive anything else. She absolutely loves this Leaf. So a bit of a backstory then. So this Leaf, I originally bought over 7 years ago to retail, to sell. And I bought 3, all from British car auctions that were ex-lease cars. And they were leased by Edinburgh University. Now the manager for the transport section of Edinburgh University was a good friend of mine called Bob Murphy, who was also an EV advocate such as myself. And he gave me the wink. He said, Jonathan, we've got 3, I think it was 4, but there was 3, Nissan Leaf After, a centre spec 24 kilowatt hour with the 6.6 onboard charger. The perfect combination in my view, 6.6 charger and the 24 kilowatt hour size battery. He says they're all going back to the leasing company, i.e. back to auction. He says I can personally vouch for all 3 of those vehicles. They've only ever been charged to 80% because you can set that within the car on the early Leaf. And he says the batteries are great. So long story short, I snapped up 3 of them. So this one is Sierra Lima 14, Oscar Mikey Echo, OME. I also bought Sierra Lima 14 Oscar Mikey Papa and also Sierra Lima 14 Oscar Mikey Delta, OMD. Yeah, I'm not going to sing an OMD song. So I bought 3, basically all the same cars that were, registered virtually, well, registered on the same day. So this one I sold to Andrew and Karen. The other one I sold to Euan McTurk, Dr. Battery. Now I'm going to put a link in the description to Euan's amazing YouTube channel called Plug Live TV. Watch it. It's very in-depth about battery chemistry. And Euan is just amazing. I'll also put a link in as well for the trip he took to the Isle of Skye from Edinburgh area where he lives. When he owned OMD. So that's really interesting. So he's had one as well. I also sold one to a good friend of Robert Llewellyn's, another comedian called Tony Hawks. I actually delivered it to him from Orkney down to, I think it was Exeter, Taunton way. I actually drove down, handed it over to him and caught a bus back to Leicester and then drove back up to Orkney in another EV I prepared and got ready for sale. So basically 3 EVs. Now I've done a quick check on the mileage on those EVs. Now Euan sold his car a couple of years ago. DVLA's database saying that his old car, OMD, has got 66,627 miles on at the last MOT. And OMP, I don't know whether Tony Hawks still owns it or not, last MOT, which was the 1st of March, so just less than a month ago, showing 105,214 miles on the sister car to this, and that's still running around as well. So yes, Mr. May, they didn't need a new battery after 3 years. They're still running fine. So the other thing you might be asking is, well, what's the battery health like? Well, come inside the car with me now and I'll show you with a little dongle that we use on an onboard diagnostic dongle, coupled with an app called LeafSpy, will tell us exactly the state of health of this battery. So what we need to do is put the OBD dongle into the OBD port, turn the car on, and read the state of the battery, the state of health. So you go to an app called LeafSpy and then connect this app to the dongle. So there we go, we know it's this car, it's a 24 kilowatt hour. The odometer is reading 68,254 miles. It's had 300, I'll do a screenshot as well, 322 QCs, that's quick charges, and 2,157 level 1 or level 2 charges. The state of health is 84.35%, which is pretty impressive. And the pack, each of those lines denotes the 96 cells, is nicely balanced. So yeah, this battery is in a really good state of health considering its age and its miles. Yeah, but what's it worth now? So I sold it in 2017 for £8,000. All three vehicles sold for £8,000. Now I've had a quick look on Auto Trader as of today, which is the end of April 2014. So we're looking at 10 years later, or 7 years later from £8,000, let's be correct. And there was three that are found with the same spec, in white, a centre spec, on 14 plates or 64 plates or 63 plates, but all registered in 2014. There was one with 56,000 miles for 4,950, another one with 41,000 miles for 5,495, so 5,500, and a private seller with a 2014 example with 63,000 miles for £4,450. Now these descriptions on Auto Trader don't cite whether it's a 3.3 or a 6.6. I'm guessing they're 3.3s because if it's a 6.6 you want to broadcast it, because what does that mean? Well, a 6.6 onboard charger means from a 7 kilowatt home charger, which most home chargers are, it will add around 25 to 26 miles per 1 hour of being plugged in. Whereas the standard 3.3 will add around about 13, 14 miles per 1 hour. And of course a granny cable at 2 kilowatts will add around 9 miles. So it's great to have the 6.6 onboard charger. Still got the DC Rapid, of course, on the Ascender spec. Geeky fact, if you ever see a Vizia spec, some of the Vizias didn't have rapid charging, so just a word of warning. So look for an Ascender or the Tecna. Tecna had different alloy wheels, leather interior, heated seats, Bose sound and 360 cameras. Yes, I'm that much of a geek. So there you go. So as of today, let's take an average of those three figures I gave you, 5, 5.5 and 4.5. Let's say, well, it's got the 6.6 charger, that's got to be worth something. I'm going to say this is worth still a good £5,000 as it is. And I've just cleaned it up as well for my friend Karen, just as a thank you for letting me borrow it for a couple of days. I gave the interior a good wet clean as well. She's away at the moment, so when she comes back, she's in for a bit of a surprise. So this was sold to my friends Andrew and Karen for £8,000 7 years ago. I reckon it's still worth 5. So over 7 years, it's lost £3,000. Name me another car that depreciates that slowly. So when you see in the press, oh, my Porsche Taycan's lost half its value, EVs are a waste of money, ignore that. Even the old tech EVs, such as the Nissan Leaf, which has a usable range of around 80 miles still holds a lot of its value and is still worth something. So there you go. Anyway, we're going to have a short test drive, and then I'm going to end this video with an interview with Andrew as to why I've created a monster and his wife. I do love that jingle. I don't know why they got rid of it with the Mark II Leaf, but I quite like that. And of course, making trees is something I really like as well. So it drives really, really well. She has had some expense, like any car requires some maintenance. So she's obviously had tyres. She's had to have new brake discs, not because they've been worn out, not because, you know, EVs are heavier and they use more brake pads and it pollutes the air. No, she's had to have new discs through lack of use. Okay, so with the Solitaire up here on Orkney, and because she's such a good electric vehicle driver, she uses regen, she accelerates gently, she takes her foot off when she's going down a hill, she barely touches the brakes. That's a good thing from an energy point of view, but a bad thing for brakes. So what she tries to do now, or whether Andrew does it, is at least once a week drive the Leaf like you've stolen it and jump on the brakes, and that will cause the pads to grab the discs and will basically clean up the discs, make them all nice and shiny, and get rid of that surface rust that may have accumulated in a week through lack of use. So that's one thing that she's now trying to do. So there was an expense. The handbrake cable needed to be renewed. Handbrake is like a foot operated handbrake. That's a common fault on Leaf and also the 𝐸V200. So she's had that replaced. There's a cable. What else? The screen, the right hand side of the screen in the Nissan Leaf fails. That's another common problem. But click the link above my head now showing you how that can be fixed really cheaply with just some very basic tools, and I managed to do that on my 𝐸V200, which I explained in the video. But I also helped Andrew replace the screen in this actual Leaf, so a screen now works. That was, I think it's £9 for the screen, which she ordered, so, and I fitted it for free. What else? Tyres, I've mentioned tyres. Wiper blades, I'm guessing, and I'm guessing she's used quite a bit of screen wash in the last 7 years. Suspension wise at the front, as with all cars of a certain age, and all cars that have these sort of roads on Orkney, she needed, I think, track rod ends and also the lower control arms, which start to knock after a certain amount of time. Now it's just wear and tear. Any vehicle after 10 years will have some wear and tear on the front bushes, especially on rural roads such as we've got here on Orkney. Other than that, nothing else. Yeah, still the original motor, still the same battery. She has it serviced regularly at her 𝐓𝐇𝐈𝐒 garage, which is the 𝐓𝐇𝐈𝐒 garage I use here on Orkney, and they do strongly advise you have the reduction oil changed at every service, and that is a good thing to do. And this can also fit from new a little magnetic sump plug, so the sump plug for the transmission has a magnet on the back, and that will attract any minute metal fragments that may be floating around the gearbox oil, because gears over time will wear. So she's had that done. Yeah, it just drives like it did when it rolled off the production line in Sunderland 10 years ago. Great cars. So what we'll do now is go for a sneaky interview with Andrew to see why he thinks I'm the reason that Karen has turned into some sort of monster.
Ah, Mr. Porterfield.
Uh-oh.
A word, please.
Andrew, shake my hand.
I've got a bone to pick you, but it's a bit windy. One in.
Okay. Oh, so Andrew, I'm out the cold. What's the problem? We've fallen out.
Well, I'm just glad to have seen you today.
Okay.
Because you have made my beautiful wife into a monster.
Karen?
Yes.
How have I made your wife into a monster?
Well, see this lovely car we're in?
Yes.
See the way we're dressed?
Yeah.
This is the normal way you dress going into the car.
Right, okay.
It's a lovely 8 degrees outside. It's going to get cold in here.
So it has got a perfectly working heater. Well, why do you not use the heater?
Well, that's where the Porterfield monster comes in.
Okay.
Because don't put on the heater. You can wrap up with a scarf and a hat and gloves.
Right.
Oh, and don't go more than 2 power circles.
Okay. All right.
What are you hitting the brake for? Use regen.
She is an excellent EV driver. She's been averaging 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour through the winter here on Orkney.
Do you know what I hear about that?
What?
It should be 4.7, but you took the car last night.
She doesn't like you driving this, does she?
No, because I drive it like a car.
Yes, yes. Karen is really meticulous when it comes to eco driving and gets amazing range out of this. So, as I said earlier, this has got 68,000 miles on it. In the summer, full charge. She says to me when she sees me, I'm showing 90 miles range. So that, which is brilliant for a 10-year-old electric vehicle with a 24 kilowatt hour battery, 21 kilowatt hour usable. She's getting amazing range out of this. So servicing wise, I touched on it very briefly earlier. Is there anything else that you've had to pay out to keep this on the road for the last 7 years, other than tyres, wipers, discs that were through corrosion, a bit of suspension work at the front, which is normal for our rough roads, handbrake cable? Anything else you can think of that I missed?
No, it's actually been really economical.
Yeah, I've not paid you to say that, have I?
No, but that's one of the reasons why we did look at the electric car, because the sums add up.
Yes, excellent. So I think we are still mates. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for over 10 years. He's had the Leaf for over 7. He's well. Will Karen drive anything else now?
Not really.
No.
Even offered an upgrade, and she just loves the Leaf.
So Andrew offered her the Kona I had for sale with 250, 260 mile range. She doesn't want that. I had my old Ioniq that I sold before I got the Nero. You offered her that, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And she loves her Leaf.
She loves her Leaf, that's it.
Is there any plans to sell this and upgrade in the near future?
Do you want to argue with Porterfield's monster?
No, I don't want to argue with Karen. No. So you're keeping this for the foreseeable?
Indeed.
Maybe I'll do a 20-year review of this car in 10 years' time. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day. If you want to see more information about how to service a Nissan Leaf, watch that video. And if you want to see how I drove Leaf all over the country, watch that video. Till next time, take care.